My wife Madison let my mother die for $50,000. The same woman who made me split the cost of a $3 coffee for 7 years was worth $100 billion. I discovered this the day I followed her to work and saw her step out of a private helicopter wearing diamonds that could have saved my mother's life 1,000 times over. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. From when I believed Madison was just a janitor struggling to make ends meet at Manhattan's Crystal Tower. For 7 years, I woke up every morning at 4:30 to make coffee for my wife. Madison always complained about the hard work. Her hands dried out from cleaning products. The arrogant supervisor who humiliated her daily. Every night she came home exhausted, her faded blue uniform stained, her hair tied in a messy bun. I welcomed her with a smile, massaged her supposedly aching feet, and promised that one day our life would be better. "Ryan, one day we'll get out of this life," I'd say while counting coins to pay rent for our 400-square-foot apartment in Queens. "I'll get a promotion. You'll be able to stop cleaning rich people's bathrooms." What a fool I was. Everything started falling apart 3 months earlier when my mother was diagnosed with cancer. The treatment would cost $50,000, a fortune for someone like me, making minimum wage as an administrative assistant. I swallowed my pride and went to Madison with the diagnosis in my hands. "Honey, I know it's a lot of money, but it's my mother," I begged, kneeling in our small living room. "We can get a loan, sell some things. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to." Madison looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. It wasn't pity or concern. It was pure contempt. $50,000? Ryan, have you lost your mind? We can barely pay rent. Your mother has lived long enough, don't you think? She said this while filing her nails, without even looking me in the eyes. "Madison, how can you say that?" "I'm being realistic. People like us don't have the luxury of spending fortunes on treatments. That's life." That night, I cried like I hadn't since I was a child. In the following days, I tried everything. Sold my only valuable possession, a watch my father left me. Borrowed from loan sharks. Did humiliating side jobs. I managed to gather $30,000, but it wasn't enough. The hospital demanded at least half the amount to start treatment. I went back to begging Madison. This time, something strange happened. She received a call and left in a hurry, saying the supervisor needed her for extra work. At 3 a.m. My mother died 2 weeks later, holding my hand, apologizing for being a burden. Her last words were, "Take care of yourself, son. That woman isn't who you think she is." On the day of the funeral, only 5 people showed up. Madison said she couldn't miss work. The supervisor would fire her. I buried my mother alone, under torrential rain that seemed to match my state of mind. It was when I was returning from the cemetery that my world completely collapsed. I stopped in front of the Crystal Tower. I wanted to confront Madison's supervisor. Tell him she needed a day off, that she had lost her mother-in-law. But when I entered the Italian marble lobby, something made me stop. I saw Madison coming out of the executive elevator. But she wasn't wearing her janitor uniform. She wore an Armani suit that cost more than I made in 5 years. Her hair, always tied up, fell in perfect waves over a diamond necklace. She walked with the posture of someone who commanded, not someone who obeyed. "Mrs. Whitmore, the helicopter is ready." A man in a suit approached her. "Mrs. Whitmore?" "Thank you, Charles. Tell Brandon that the $50 million yacht he wanted is approved. It's a gift for his excellent work." She replied with a voice I had never heard. Authoritative, cold, distant. Brandon. The name echoed in my mind. Brandon was the supervisor she complained about so much. The man who supposedly made her life hell. I followed her discreetly to the penthouse, my heart hammering in my chest. What I discovered there would change my life forever. The entire top floor was an office that looked more like a palace. Artworks worth millions decorated the walls. The panoramic view of Manhattan was breathtaking. And in the center of it all, a golden plaque. Madison Whitmore, CEO and founder of Whitmore International Group. My wife, the janitor, owned a business empire. I hid behind a column when I heard voices approaching. Madison entered with Brandon. Not the grumpy supervisor she described, but a young, attractive man who looked at her with adoration. 7 years, Madison. When are you going to stop this charade? Brandon asked while serving champagne for her. Getting impatient, darling? The project is almost complete. Ryan is the perfect guinea pig for my thesis. Thesis? My doctorate in behavioral psychology. How far blind love can lead a man to humiliate himself. Ryan has exceeded all my expectations. Did you see how he begged for the money? Pathetic. I felt my legs weaken. Thesis? I was an experiment? But his mother died, Madison. Don't you feel even a little remorse? Remorse? It was perfect for the study. The way he knelt, how he cried. I got everything on video through the hidden cameras in the apartment. It'll be the main part of my presentation next month. Cameras. Our apartment had cameras. Every intimate moment, every humiliation, every tear, all recorded for her entertainment. You know what's funniest? I could have saved the old woman with my coffee money. But where would be the fun? I needed to see how far he would go out of desperation. You're diabolical. I'll wait another month, then reveal everything. I want to see his face when he discovers he slept for 7 years with one of the richest women in the country, thinking he was doing charity for a poor janitor. It'll be the perfect grand finale. I couldn't listen anymore. I ran out of that building as if the devil was after me. I vomited in the first trash can I found. 7 years. 7 damn years being a lab rat. I arrived home, at the set of her experiment, and saw everything with new eyes. The small cameras disguised in the corners, the furniture strategically positioned for better filming angles. Our entire life was a sick reality show for a billionaire psychopath. But then something unexpected happened. When I was at my lowest point, considering ending it all, a holographic screen appeared before me. Divine Vengeance System activated. Host in critical situation detected. Initiating Justice Protocol. Main mission. Expose Madison Whitmore and conquer your true love in 30 days. Initial reward. 10 million deposited in secret account. I looked at my phone. The bank notification confirmed it. $10 million. The system was real. First submission. Discover the files on Madison Whitmore's personal computer. Location. Penthouse apartment, 2000 Park Avenue. Safe password. Your wedding date backwards. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Madison wanted a grand finale. I would give her an ending she'd never forget. In the following days, I maintained the charade. I continued being the dedicated and ignorant husband. Madison didn't even notice the subtle change in my behavior. After all, to her, I was just a study subject, incapable of complex thought. At the first opportunity, I broke into her penthouse apartment. The system had given me skills I didn't have before: computer knowledge, martial arts, psychological manipulation. It was as if years of training had been downloaded directly into my brain. The safe opened with the password the system indicated. Inside, I found more than I expected. It wasn't just about me. Madison had dossiers on dozens of people, all projects for her 6 studies. Some couldn't handle it. Others ended up in psychiatric clinics. I was just the latest in a long line of victims. But the real treasure was on an external hard drive marked Special Project. When I opened the files, I discovered the most shocking truth. Madison wasn't just a rich psychopath. She led a network of powerful people who bet on how long it would take to psychologically destroy their victims. It was a sick club of bored billionaires. Among the documents, I found videos of meetings. Madison presenting my progress to an audience of sadistic rich people. They laughed at my tears, bet on how long it would take me to break completely. Some suggested ways to torture me more. Ryan is resilient, Madison said in one video. But I have the final blow planned. When he discovers the truth, after his mother's death, the guilt and humiliation will destroy him completely. Bets on whether she breaks down completely within a week, laughter, applause. Bets being made as if my life were a card game. Evidence collected, new mission, find Olivia Chen. She has crucial information. Olivia Chen. The name was vaguely familiar. Then I remembered. She was the lawyer who had tried to help me with the loan for my mother. She had been strangely insistent on helping me, even knowing I couldn't pay her fees. I found Olivia at her downtown office. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Ryan, I'm so sorry about your mother. I tried so hard to warn you. You knew about Madison? She nodded, taking a thick folder from her file. I've been investigating Madison Whitmore for 5 years. My sister was one of her victims. She didn't make it after Madison destroyed her in one of those experiments. I've been collecting evidence ever since. Why didn't you go to the police? Madison has connections everywhere. Judges, police, politicians, all in her pocket or participating in the sick games. But now, she looked at me with hope. Now we have a chance. I saw the transfers you received. I don't know who's helping you, but with resources we can fight. Olivia showed me years of meticulous investigation. Madison had destroyed 47 documented lives. Some victims were chosen randomly, others for specific characteristics she wanted to study. I was chosen for being extraordinarily dedicated and naive. Her words in an email. There's one more thing. I discovered this recently. Not all of Madison's victims end up destroyed. Some she keeps around, like trophies. She showed me surveillance photos. Brandon, the supposed lover, had needle marks on his arm. He was being drugged regularly. Her mansion's gardener was an ex-CEO she had broken. The cook, a famous ex-actress Madison destroyed for fun. She collects broken people. It's part of her sick pleasure. Final mission approaching. Prepare for confrontation. Allies arriving in 48 hours. 2 days later, while maintaining my act as the ignorant husband, I received a message. It was an invitation to an exclusive party next Saturday. The address was a mansion in the Hamptons. I knew what it was. The monthly meeting of Madison's sadistic club. It's going to be tonight. Madison plans to reveal everything to you in front of her friends. It'll be the evening's entertainment. Perfect. Then we'll give them a show they'll never forget. The system had prepared me well. Besides the skills, I received equipment, undetectable micro cameras, a military hacking device, and something the system called nanotechnological truth serum. On the night of the party, Madison was especially excited. She made me wear my only suit, patched and out of style, saying her supervisor had invited some employees for a dinner party. You'll finally meet the people I work with, she said with a smile I now recognized as pure malice. The mansion was a spectacle of ostentation. Cars worth millions at the entrance, security everywhere, and in the main hall, about 50 people representing trillions in combined wealth. Ladies and gentlemen, I present my husband, Ryan. Suppressed laughter, malicious whispers. Everyone knew who I was, the lab rat of the night. Ryan, honey, I have a surprise for you. The lights went out. A screen came down, and the presentation began. 7 years of my life in a sadistic PowerPoint. Videos of me crying, begging, humiliating myself. Graphs showing my psychological decline. Analyses of my behavior as if I were a zoo animal. The audience laughed, applauded, commented on each moment of suffering as if it were a comedy movie. And now, the moment everyone's been waiting for. Ryan, dear, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Madison Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore International Group, net worth $100 billion. And you, my dear, were the most entertaining project of my career. She expected to see me break. She expected tears, despair, maybe even violence. Instead, I started laughing. What's wrong, Ryan? Have you gone mad? No, Madison. I just find it ironic. You spent 7 years studying me and know nothing about me. I stood up calmly. The system had activated final mode. I felt power flowing through me. You know why I was chosen as the perfect guinea pig? Because you, in your infinite arrogance, never properly checked my background. I took off my glasses and adjusted my posture. Years of suppressed military training came back to the surface. Colonel Ryan Mitchell, Army Intelligence, retired due to disability after classified mission. Or at least that's what my file said, before being conveniently altered 7 years ago. Madison's smile faltered. Some guests began shifting uncomfortably. I spent 3 years infiltrated in a terrorist organization in the Middle East. You think pretending to be a love-struck administrative assistant was hard? Please. Impossible. I investigated you. You're nobody. Because that's what I wanted you to see. You know, Madison, you weren't the only one doing experiments. The government has special interest in corporate psychopaths. You're considered threats to national security. I pressed a button on my watch, a gift from the system, but they didn't need to know. The mansion doors locked automatically. Operation Cleanup initiated. Everyone present is under arrest for conspiracy, psychological torture, and causing irreparable harm, among other crimes. Security. No one came. Olivia entered through the main door, accompanied by dozens of federal agents. Your security was replaced an hour ago. All your thugs are already in custody. But the evidence? You mean these? Or do you prefer the videos of your meetings? I'm particularly fond of the video where you laugh while showing my mother's death certificate. The truth was that the system had fabricated my military identity in seconds, but the evidence of the crimes was too real to question. Oh, and Madison? About my mother. You were right. It was perfect for the study. Studying how a psychopath reacts when she loses everything. I discreetly applied the nanotechnological truth serum on her. In seconds, Madison began compulsively confessing all her crimes, all the sordid details, all the victims. The agents recorded everything. As she was dragged out, Madison screamed, "This isn't over, Ryan. I have lawyers. I have connections." Had. Whitmore International Group was frozen an hour ago for money laundering and tax evasion. Funny how 7 years of planted evidence can destroy an empire. The mansion emptied quickly. Soon, only Olivia and I remained in the hall once full of monsters. How did you do this? The resources, the evidence, the operation. Let's say I had help from someone interested in justice, I replied, seeing the system congratulate me for the completed mission. Ryan, all these years, while investigating Madison, I followed you too. I saw your suffering, your dedication, your genuine love. I saw the incredible man you are, even in the worst circumstances. She took my hand. I know it's early, that you need to process all this. But could we try? No lies, no games, just us. I looked at that woman who had dedicated 5 years of her life seeking justice, who had tried to save me even when I was a stranger. True love identified. Bonus mission available. Be happy. You know, Olivia, I think I just learned the difference between true love and sick obsession. And yes, I'd love to try something real with you. 6 months later, Madison Whitmore's story dominated global headlines. The trial of the century, they called it. 157 years in prison for her. Varied sentences for accomplices. Victims received million-dollar compensations. Brandon, we discovered, was also a victim. Son of one of the first people Madison destroyed, kept as a slave through drugs and manipulation. He got treatment and now helps other victims. The apartment where I lived, my farce was demolished. On the land, I built a support center for victims of psychological abuse, named in honor of my mother. Olivia and I got married in a simple ceremony, only with true friends. No ostentation, no lies. She continues advocating for the helpless. Now, with infinite resources, the system, before disappearing, left one last reward, 500 million in Bitcoin. You know what's most ironic? I told Olivia on our honeymoon, watching the sunset in Santorini. Madison spent years studying what makes someone humiliate themselves for love. In the end, it was true love that destroyed her. She was right. Madison, in her arrogance, never understood that real love doesn't humiliate. It elevates. It doesn't demand proof. It trusts. It doesn't test. It supports. A year later, I received a letter from prison. Madison had written with the trembling handwriting of someone who had lost everything. Ryan, I write not to ask for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I write because I need you to know. You won. Not for imprisoning me or destroying my empire. You won because even after everything I did, you found real love. I, with all my billions, never knew what that means. I spent my life treating people as study subjects. Now I'm the subject. Prison psychiatrists analyze me daily. The irony doesn't escape me. Your mother was right. I wasn't who you thought, but you weren't who I thought either. You were so much more. Madison. I burned the letter without remorse. Some bridges need to remain destroyed. 3 years passed. Olivia and I have twins now, Sophie and Nathan. I live in a comfortable house, nothing extravagant. I work because I choose to, not because I need to. I help people recover from abusive relationships. Sometimes I wake up at 4:30 in the morning out of habit. But instead of making coffee for someone who despised me, I prepare bottles for my children. Instead of counting coins desperately, I count blessings gratefully. Madison serves time in solitary. Other prisoners discovered her crimes and her life in jail became hell. The other members of the sadistic club lost everything. Some disappeared from public life completely, unable to cope without power. Poetic justice, some would say. But true justice isn't in their punishment. It's in the fact that all of Madison's victims now live full lives. We created a support network, a family of survivors. We transformed our pain into purpose. Daddy, why do you wake up so early? Old habit, my love. Silly habit. I agreed. It was indeed a silly habit. Just as it was silly to believe that love meant humiliation, that poverty meant inferiority, that dedication meant weakness. Madison wanted to study how far blind love would lead a man to humiliate himself. In the end, she discovered how far true love can lead a man to rise. She died alone, hated, insane. I live surrounded by love, purpose, and peace. If that's not the greatest revenge and the most poetic justice, I don't know what is. Today, when young people come to me at the support center, I share my story without shame. I tell them, if someone tests your love, it's not love. If someone documents your suffering, it's not a study, it's sadism. If someone laughs at your pain, it's not humor, it's cruelty. And I always end with what I learned. True love doesn't appear in PowerPoints or graphs. It appears at 3 a.m. holding your hand in the hospital. It appears in the loan without questions when you need it most. It appears in the silent hug when words aren't enough. Olivia once asked me if I would change anything if I could go back in time. I would change everything and nothing. I would change to save my mother, to avoid years of humiliation. But if I changed, I wouldn't be here, with you, with our children, helping others. Madison made me a guinea pig. But in the end, I was the one who completed the experiment. I proved that true love not only survives cruelty, but triumphs over it. The system never appeared again. Sometimes I wonder if it was real, or if my mind created a defense mechanism in a moment of extreme despair. But the 500 million in Bitcoin are very real, as is the life I built with them. Madison was right about one thing. I was extraordinarily dedicated and naive. Dedicated enough to love unconditionally for 7 years. Naive enough to believe in people's goodness. But she was wrong about this being a weakness. It was my greatest strength. Because when the mask fell and the truth was revealed, I had something all her billions couldn't buy. The ability to love and be truly loved. Today, when I pass by the Crystal Tower, I don't feel anger or sadness. The building was sold, the Whitmore empire dismantled and divided among victims. At the top, where Madison's office used to be, now operates an NGO fighting psychological abuse. The building's janitor, a real one, not a billionaire in disguise, always greets me warmly. You know, Mr. Mitchell, I always found it strange, that girl pretending to be one of us. Her hands were too soft, her walk too confident. But you looked at her with so much love that I thought I was imagining things. Why didn't you ever tell me anything, Mrs. Rodriguez? Because you seemed happy. And who am I to destroy other people's happiness? I just didn't imagine she was the one destroying yours. Wise words from a simple woman. More wisdom than Madison with all her doctorates would ever have. Coming home that day, I found Olivia in the garden with the children. Nathan was trying to catch butterflies while Sophie read a book, at 3 years old, already devouring stories. Geniuses, like their mother. How was your day? Productive. 3 new cases at the center. All victims of abusive relationships disguised as love. We'll save them, one at a time. That's what we do now. We save people. Not with superpowers or magic systems, but with empathy, resources, and the experience of those who survived the worst. The support center grew. We have psychologists, lawyers, social workers, all working to identify and help victims of psychological abuse. We created an app that detects patterns of abusive behavior in relationships. We've already saved hundreds of people. Uncle Ryan. A familiar voice called me at the center. It was Amanda, one of the first people we helped. When I met her, she was at her lowest. Devastated after discovering her millionaire fiancé was using her as entertainment for his friends. Amanda, how are you? Graduated. Psychology, as I promised. I'm going to help others like you helped me. That's the true legacy. It's not about revenge or justice. It's about transforming pain into purpose, victims into survivors, survivors into saviors. One night, the news showed an update about Madison. She had gone insane in prison, spent her days writing mathematical formulas on the cell walls, trying to calculate love as if it were an equation. Poor thing. Poor thing? Yes. Imagine spending your entire life without understanding the most basic thing of human existence. She had everything and had nothing. Olivia was always more compassionate than me. It's one of the reasons I love her. That night, I had a dream. Madison and I were back in our fake apartment, but this time I knew the truth. In the dream, she cried, real tears, not crocodile ones. Teach me. Teach me how to truly love. It's not something you teach. It's something you allow yourself to feel. I woke up with a heavy heart. Even after everything, a part of me lamented the waste. Madison had intelligence, resources, power. She could have changed the world for the better. Instead, she chose to destroy lives for fun. 5 years have passed since Madison's arrest. The Whitmore case became a reference in studies of corporate psychopathy. Documentaries were made, books written. I refused all interviews. My story already serves the purpose of helping victims at the center. I don't need fame. But there was an unexpected development. Mr. Mitchell? A young woman approached me at the center. She had Madison's eyes, but there was kindness in them. Yes? I'm Claire Whitmore, Madison's daughter. My blood ran cold. Madison had a daughter? Before you worry, I was raised by my paternal grandmother. Madison abandoned me when I was born. Babies weren't interesting for her studies. Her voice had old bitterness. What do you want here? To help. I know it sounds crazy, but I spent my life trying to understand how my mother became a monster. I studied psychology, but the right way. I want to help undo the evil she did. I looked at that young woman for long seconds. Was it another manipulation? Another sick game? Why should I trust you? You shouldn't. But I can prove my intentions. I have access to her secret accounts. Money that can help more victims. I also have names of others like her. People she protected. Claire wasn't lying. In the following months, she proved to be the opposite of her mother. Dedicated, empathetic, genuinely interested in helping. With her information, we dismantled 3 other abuser networks. You know, I grew up hearing stories about you. My grandmother followed the news. She always said you were the only person who really loved Madison, and that Madison was too stupid to realize it. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was. She died last year, but she made me promise I'd try to fix what Madison broke. It's impossible, I know, but it's not impossible. Look around. Every person here is proof that it's possible to rebuild. Claire became an essential part of the center. Her story, rejected daughter of the monster, choosing good, inspired other victims. Olivia informally adopted her as the sister she never had. One day, Claire brought a box. I found this in my grandmother's belongings. I think you should see it. Inside were photos. Madison and I at the beginning, when the experiment started. But there was something disturbing. In some old photos, before we met, Madison smiled genuinely. There was light in her eyes. My grandmother said Madison changed after my grandfather died. He died saving a child from being hit by a car. Madison was 16 and never got over it. She said the world didn't deserve good people. That doesn't justify. Of course not. But it explains. She decided that if the world took the good ones, she would study and destroy what she considered human weakness. She twisted her own pain into sadism. It was the missing piece of the puzzle. Madison wasn't born a monster. She chose to become one. And that choice destroyed dozens of lives, including her own. I kept the photos. Not out of nostalgia, but as a reminder. Unprocessed pain can turn victims into perpetrators. Today, 10 years after everything, my life is unrecognizable. The center has become an international foundation. We have headquarters in 12 countries. We've saved thousands of people. Sophie and Nathan, now 13, Already talk about pursuing psychology and law to continue our work. Madison died in prison last year. They said it was a heart attack, but there were whispers that it wasn't natural. She had finally calculated that some equations have no solution. I didn't go to the funeral. Claire went alone and buried the mother she never knew next to the father Madison loved and lost. Full circle of a tragedy that never needed to happen. Dad, do you hate the woman who hurt you? No, son. Hate is giving her power over me still. I've forgotten her. But you tell her story. I tell my story. She's just a bad chapter in a book that got much better. And it's true. Madison wanted to break me, study me, reduce me to data on a spreadsheet. But human beings aren't experiments. We're resilient, unpredictable, capable of transforming even the worst pain into something beautiful. She studied how much blind love humiliates. I proved how much true love liberates. She died alone, hated, insane. I live surrounded by love, purpose, and peace. If that's not the greatest revenge and the most poetic justice, I don't know what is. Ryan, dinner's ready. I smile, close the laptop where I was writing our story, and go to meet my real life. A life that Madison, with all her billions and studies, would never understand. A life where love isn't an experiment. It's simply love. Did you enjoy this shocking story of betrayal and justice? Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss any incredible stories. Write in the comments. Did you suspect Madison was hiding something? What would you have done in Ryan's place? See you in the next story.